Welcome to the Grow Your Practice podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Madden, owner of Madden Physical Therapy and Breakthrough. Join me each week as we dive into the best practices, systems, principles, tips, and tricks to help you grow your private practice.
Hey everybody, welcome to Grow Your Practice Live. Today, we're going to be talking about the three biggest mistakes I see private practice owners make in marketing their practice. So to get started, I have one question for you, which is when you think of the word marketing or when you hear the word marketing, what do you think of? How do you define that? And I asked this question to quite a few owners recently. We had a vast array of answers to that. And I'm going to give you a simple way to think about this first. So anytime we're talking about marketing or private practice, we're specifically talking about how you position your services and potentially products against everything else in the market. So if we're, in front of Mary and Mary has shoulder pain, think about all the different things that Mary could potentially do to treat her shoulder. She could get a sheet of exercises from her neighbor who went to physical therapy and try to do the same exercises. She could go online to YouTube or something like that and look up shoulder pain exercises. She could go to her family doctor. She could ask for a referral to a specialist, or maybe she already knows like an orthopedic specialist. She could opt in for over-the-counter medications, painkillers, anti-inflammatories, things like that. She could go get a prescription for a medication. She could opt in for an injection. She could seek out a surgeon or perhaps go down the diagnostic imaging route. All this is way before she ever thinks about coming to you, right? So when we're talking about marketing and marketing mistakes, we're talking about how you position your services against all the other options that are available for whatever the pain point, the problem, the diagnosis that we're talking about is. So three biggest mistakes I see. The first one is we violate market message media match. And years ago, so when I first met Carl Maddiola, the CEO here at Breakthrough back in November of 2012, right around that time, Carl surveyed about 300 private practice owners. And he said, what is the biggest mistake you've ever made in marketing your private practice? And he got a list of answers. There were like 30 or so answers on there. And then he also asked, the follow-up question was, what's the most successful thing you've ever done? So what's the biggest mistake? What's the most successful thing? And that list was about 30 answers. The crazy part is that the list of the most successful things by survey was nearly the same identical list as the biggest mistakes in marketing the private practice. So what was going on? And Carl and I looked at this list for about 3 months, and then finally it hit us. The realization was every practice owner, when they think about making a marketing mistake, they only think about the type of media that's used. And that's an error. So the answers were things along the lines of, the legacy media. So newspaper, patient newsletters, physician luncheons, swag, which is, would be like t-shirts or hats or mugs, something along those lines. And, advertise sponsorship in the school program, all these different types of things, offline legacy media. Then online, it was Facebook, Google ads, email doesn't work, or it does work, and all these different things online, which were primarily Google, YouTube ads, Facebook, Meta, Instagram ads. You get the idea. So yeah, as practice owners, we really only think about when we're talking about marketing, the type of media selected. We try radio and we get some traction with radio and we get responders, and we say radio works. And we might be talking with a friend who, a colleague, a fellow practice owner, and that person does radio and they tried radio in their area and they say it doesn't work, right? So the only thing that we're thinking about is the media. Rarely will the practice owner have enough discernment where they're going to take a look and see, okay, what was the messaging said when, for the owner that was successful, and let's compare that to the messaging for the owner that wasn't successful with radio. So market message media match means that three things must align in order for our marketing to work. And anytime our marketing doesn't work, one of these things is misaligned. So market is the person that we're trying to reach. For example, recently we here at Breakthrough, we rolled out a pelvic floor funnel where we're running advertisements for practices that want to attract more pelvic floor patients. There are 3 target markets from talking with the owners here at Breakthrough that we could potentially go to. The first is our expecting or new mothers. The second are men with prostate issues. That tends to skew to an older demographic. And the third are people undergoing gender reassignment. And so that's 3 very different target markets, all with a similar problem that could be under the pelvic floor umbrella. However, if we don't pick one, it is very hard to create messaging, right? The words that we're using to advertise that are going to speak to all 3 different target markets. A 27-year-old mother who's having her second child and has a toddler at home, that conversation sounds a little bit different than my 87-year-old grandfather who has prostate issues. They're very, very different, right? So the first thing we need to do is get very specific about the market that we're targeting with however we're marketing our practice. The second market message, the message is the words that we use. So if we're doing a radio ad, that would be the copy. If we're doing a print ad, an online ad on Facebook or Google ad, that is the words that we use to communicate our marketing message. We'll talk more about that here in a second. But the final one, the third M, is the media. And again, I mentioned legacy media. So that would be things like print, direct mail, radio, TV, billboards. And then we also have online media, which would be the alphabet family. So Google or YouTube ads. And then the Meta family, which includes Facebook and Instagram. You might want to throw TikTok, at least as of today. It hasn't been banned yet. But yeah, so we can think about online and offline media as our different media selections. The key, again, when we were targeting and we chose the most prevalent for the pelvic floor, which are expecting mothers. So for the 27-year-old who's having her second child and has a toddler at home, we want to select the media type that she's using and we want to use it in the way that she uses it. So, if we're promoting with a TikTok ad or a Facebook or Instagram advertisement, and we're going to invest money there, we want to learn first how she's interacting with that media. So market message media matches, big mistake number 1. Number 2 is when we look at the messaging. So follow up to Carl's survey that I mentioned, where he interviewed 300 plus practice owners and asked the biggest mistake and also asked the most successful thing that you've ever done to market your private practice. The follow-up and how we found media was the answer is in the follow-up, we asked to see the advertisements. So if it was a Facebook ad or a print ad, we asked to see that. And what we noticed is that those that were successful nailed the messaging. Those that weren't successful missed out on the messaging. And the biggest error in messaging is that the practice owners that they're marketing, they considered it a failure and it didn't work. They tend to focus on the self. So they tended to focus on their self as a clinician, or they focused on how great their practice was. And they would say things like, we're the premier provider. And by the way, I'm guilty of this as well. We're the premier provider in XYZ area, right? In central Pennsylvania, for example. Or I have these certifications, I have this license, I specialize in this, and it's all about me, not about that potential patient.
Before we continue with this episode, here's a word about our course, Profitability Under Pressure.
What are the 4 ways practice owners are increasing their revenue per visit in today's market? Chad Madden here, introducing you to the Profitability Under Pressure program. This is a 90-day masterclass designed to help you build a financial system in your private practice to improve your revenue per visit and your bottom line profit margin. Many practice owners like you are facing declining reimbursements and increasing operational expenses. It's more expensive to provide care. This makes it harder to maintain the financial health of the practice. The Profitability Under Pressure program compiles the processes working for practice owners today into one system to help you increase profit margins, regain your time, and help more people in your community. With our program, you'll learn how to conduct a profit leak audit, how to create a plan for profit, and how to use the 4 profit levers to increase your revenue. Plus, you'll enjoy a complimentary 90-day trial of our patient demand software and access to our exclusive Insider Circle community. Don't just take my word for it. Hear from practice owners like Lance Gross, who added $1.1 million to his bottom line, and Peg Gray, who got her finances under control after 4 decades in practice, or Jeff Gersh, who saved time by getting the cheat sheet to increase profitability. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers. Apply today for the Profitability Under Pressure program and start increasing your profits by $10,000 or more in just 90 days. Click the link below to join the waitlist now. Secure a more stable financial future for your practice. Apply now and join the ranks of successful PT practice owners who have transformed their businesses with our program. Apply today.
Thank you for listening this far. Now back to the episode.
The successful ads did focus on the potential patient. With my 6 kids, we all go through this, how to make friends, just a dad thing that I'll share with you. And we do this thing called the flashlight game. And it's, if I'm on this call with Yehi and she's my friend and I want to be a good friend, I will say, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Or how was the concert that you went to? And I will shine the flashlight on her and ask her questions about herself. And she will respond and I will ask more questions, right? What bad friends do is they tell you all about themselves 100% of the time. They shine the flashlight on themselves all the time. And you know how that feels. It's a little annoying to be around. Whereas if somebody's asking questions and it shows that they genuinely concern about me, they're focused on me. And that's exactly what you want to do. In general, what we see are if you're buying ads from an advertising agency, they will frequently run messaging that makes you feel good, right? You are the buyer of the advertisement. And I remember, I'm guilty of this myself. I remember we had a radio rep, Curtis was the radio rep's name, and he would come in every few months and it would be in the middle of treatment. It was unannounced. And he would say, hey, here's the special that we're running on advertisement. And I would buy an ad. He always had like a good, better, best. So a least expensive, a middle of the road, and then most expensive. And I usually would buy the middle of the road, probably out of ego more than anything else. But I would buy the ad and he would say, okay, we have a 6 weeks until the deadline. Can you write something up? And we'll have one of our radio personalities read this. And I would always say yes. And then a week before the deadline, he would say, hey, how's that copy coming along? The message, the advertisement, the commercial. And I would always say, I didn't have time to get to it. And he would always say, well, I'll write it for you. And what he would tend to do is write about me, right? He wasn't shining the flashlight on the listener. And when we looked at those failed advertisements from the survey follow-up, that tended to be the biggest common mistake, is we would talk about ourselves as clinicians in those advertisements rather than focus on the pain or the problem that the audience was dealing with. And the third biggest mistake that I see in private practice marketing is underestimating effort. And I mean, really within our business, we all have finite time. Most of us are time starved. We have finite money and resources. So it's not infinite. We don't get to write, you and I can't afford as private practice owners to be spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in buying a Super Bowl commercial, for example. But there is, on the other end, we tend to underestimate the amount of effort that it will take or amount of money or time that it will take. And in general, I want to go through anytime I'm working with an owner here and we talk about marketing, especially if they have a capacity to treat more and they don't have a waiting list yet. It's going to take some effort, especially it's very hard. It's a tough Band-Aid to rip off in the beginning if you've never marketed your services before. But in general, there are 5 ways we can attract new patients and 5 ways that we can market our services. The lowest hanging fruit, the easiest, is reactivations. That's going to our past patient list and somebody who's completed their plan of care with us. They come back in for additional treatment, maybe for the same problem, maybe for something different, but that's called a reactivation. It's the lowest hanging fruit. It's the easiest to do. Typically, we can send out an email or a text campaign and get those reactivations. The next level up is word of mouth referrals. Now, most owners will say, when we talk about where do your new patients come from, they'll say, I provide high quality of care and we get a lot of word of mouth referrals. It usually means they're doing no marketing effort. I will typically follow up with, well, how do you ask for word of mouth referrals, or how do you encourage it? And maybe they have a card they give out, or, they ask, typically what happens is they're asking for Google reviews, and somehow that becomes word of mouth referrals in the practice owner's mind. But that's the second thing we can get, is people sharing with their friends and family. The third thing is a professional referral. So that could be a physician, nurse practitioner, PA. The fourth level up is a partner. So that might be a large employer who's promoting you and your services. It could be a gym or another complementary business or organization in your area who is promoting your services to their list. The fifth level up is cold traffic marketing, right? So we have reactivations, word of mouth referrals, professional referrals, partner referrals, and then finally cold traffic marketing. And every once in a while, I'll talk with an owner who they feel like they've exhausted their reactivations. They're asking and they're getting word of mouth referrals. They're getting some, or there's a block to professional referrals. They have some partners and they've explored that, and they want to go to advertising, cold traffic marketing. And typically what they don't understand is that there's going to be an investment there. And it's the highest investment. These are people who they're cold traffic. So that means they do not know, like, and trust you yet nearly as well as your patient list, where your reactivations and word of mouth referrals come from. So it's the heaviest lift. It's the most effort. It's the most time. It's the most money. It's the most resources in order to figure it out. And typically what happens is the owner they'll underestimate, they'll send something out, they'll get a response, and they don't know how to handle that response. And then they'll say, okay, I tried radio and it didn't work for me, or I tried print or direct mail and it didn't work for me, or I tried Facebook or Instagram ads and it didn't work for me. And yeah, so there's typically an underestimation. So just to recap here, number one biggest mistake you see in marketing, private practice marketing, is violating market message media match. Typically one of those is not aligned. Most often it's the messaging. Number two is focusing on self and telling people how great you are in your ad. It's mistake number two. Mistake number three is underestimating and not understanding the 5 new patient pathways, but underestimating the time, money, and resources it takes in order to attract people from cold traffic marketing. So we do have an owner on here. Haley, any questions on the 3 biggest mistakes?
Hey, I'm driving, so it's not ideal. But no, I mean, it's very, very clear. I've experienced many of these myself. Yeah, it's really, really clear. I think the 5 marketing, whatever the last thing you just were talking about, not the mistakes, but before that, was really beneficial for me to hear. And I think the thing that I forget the most is the not talking about self, and it's just so easy to do, it's just so easy to be like, try this new type of, therapy or whatever, but it's not how it doesn't connect with them unless you're really talking about their problem or their pain point, which is what you were saying. It's just really good to remember these things, which I have been taught in the past and don't always keep in the front of my mind. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for hopping on there, Haley. Yeah, please get back to driving and be safe.
Thank you so much. I am. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. So there you have it. We talked about the 3 biggest mistakes, and also I did an add in there, which Haley mentioned, the 5 new patient pathways. It's just a very organized way to think about your marketing efforts. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in to Grow Your Practice Live, and I will see you next week.
What are the 4 ways practice owners are increasing their revenue per visit in today's market? Chad Madden here, introducing you to the Profitability Under Pressure program. This is a 90-day masterclass designed to help you build a financial system in your private practice to improve your revenue per visit and your bottom line profit margin. Many practice owners like you are facing declining reimbursements and increasing operational expenses. It's more expensive to provide care. This makes it harder to maintain the financial health of the practice. The Profitability Under Pressure program compiles the processes working for practice owners today into one system to help you increase profit margins, regain your time, and help more people in your community. With our program, you'll learn how to conduct a profit leak audit, how to create a plan for profit, and how to use the 4 profit levers to increase your revenue. Plus, you'll enjoy a complimentary 90-day trial of our patient demand software and access to our exclusive Insider Circle community. Don't just take my word for it. Hear from practice owners like Lance Gross, who added $1.1 million to his bottom line, and Peg Gray, who got her finances under control after 4 decades in practice, or Jeff Gersh, who saved time by getting the cheat sheet to increase profitability. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers. Apply today for the Profitability Under Pressure program and start increasing your profits by $10,000 or more in just 90 days. Click the link below to join the waitlist now. Secure a more stable financial future for your practice. Apply now and join the ranks of successful PT practice owners who have transformed their businesses with our program. Apply today.